Good afternoon. Okay, so today we have one critique. So this one here is a little bit different than the one I'm teaching, but it's fine. Um, it's always good to see that if you're trying to do something, okay, by yourself. So if you look at this particular ego, I would probably tell you that perhaps after this lesson here, you probably will be much more better in a sense. Okay, so I like the eye, I like the face. Okay, however, I think that's when you put in the color, the variation has to be more. Okay, so if you look at this here, it's because most of the color are pretty close. So that's why you wouldn't be able to tell the variation. So it's a little bit kind of flat. Okay. Now this line seems to have a little bit of problem here because it's too dark versus the rest of the color here. Okay. So later on, I'm gonna do some exercise to help you guys to be able to get this thing even more better. Okay. So you're in the same line as what you're intended to show you guys anyway. Okay. It's just that we need a little bit more information. And for this particular pose here, if you really think about it, this tail may be on the wrong location. Okay. Um, because if you look at this here, if the body is right on here, then you look at the face itself is facing sideways. So means the tail should have been here more. This side here is a little bit tricky. It's possible, but depends on how you're going to swing this wing, the direction. Okay. If the wing direction, if it's tilted a little bit, then this tail can come over this side here better. Okay. Um, so again, that's I'm not too sure you're following uh, a photograph of this eagle and then try to put it onto a piece of rock. Okay, so I'm not sure, so I can't really tell you. But other than saying this tail based on the wing and then the face, then the tail doesn't look like it should be this location. It should be there. But from composition point of view, if the wing is that straight and the tail that straight, doesn't look as pretty. Okay, that's all I can say. All right. So anyway, I already got your post, so I'll take a look to see if I can do another sketch, kind of look like this eagle, so to help you to realizing, why we, do it this particular way. Okay. So what happened is today we're gonna use basically just a piece of paper, sketch paper, and we're gonna do the sketching first. I'm going to show you how to sketch before we jump into the shim paper, okay? And I also will go to the shim paper and show you how we do feather. Just break them down. Then when we actually do it next week, you will find it much easier, okay? All right. But very good that you try, okay? I always like students to try their own thing. Then that way that I would know whether or not you able to improve faster. Okay. So depends, okay? Your paper is smaller, you just do a little bit smaller, okay? Important thing, we just try to get you to realize how to draw things. Okay. First of all, you look at this particular eagle, you realize, interesting, this hawk, this is a hawk, the head is actually not too big, it's small, okay? In relation to the body. So the first thing what we're gonna do is you do a circle, like so. See my hand? I go like this. But you remember you got a tail this long, so you got to make sure you have enough space for the body. Okay. So in some sense, what we try to teach you is you can also do this if you need a measurement. So what happens is you take your pen and you look at the head from the eye, okay, across the eye. And if I go like this, then I count this as a one. Then go two, three, 4, roughly 5, a little bit shorter than a 5. So what it's saying is if I take my pen here and my circle is this big, if I drop it down here, okay, then I should start counting them, okay? So what happened is you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm gonna hit the end of the paper, okay? So that may be an issue, right? So it's very easy. I can take my pencil and then I move the head a little bit over to this side here, okay? Then I'll get rid of the previous circle. Now, our brain, it's very funny. I did that measurement, say roughly 5, right? We have a short-term memory. You once you did that, you might say, "Oops, I forgot how I measure them." All right. So I'm gonna go back again, and I'm gonna take my pen again, and I go like this. Okay. So I go. Okay. So if I drop it down, so if I count up 1, then 1, 2, 3, 4, and roughly 4.5 this time measured. Okay. So again, I'll measure the circle I just did, and I come down here a little bit. Count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then I know it's here. Put a marking. So I know that's how long in relation. Okay. We can also do another thing. Is I'm gonna do in 2 stage. It's the height of this hawk. Okay. So again, I'm gonna use the same way and measure the size of that circle. Okay. Then I just turn over like this from top of the head. Okay, so that's one circle. So I'm gonna go 1, 2, 3, and that's 3, about maybe 3.5, 2.5. It's gonna hit the chest area, and then the 4 will be the feet. Okay, so this is how we're gonna count it. So again, I go back to my paper and I go like this. Then I go 1, 2, and then 2.5. This is where the chest probably gonna be. Okay, and then that's where the feet gonna be. So I already know the distance, okay, the length, and then the height. Okay. Now again, we will go back and tell you, a lot of time Chinese painter do not do this, okay? But you have to realize all those master, they call master because they already able to do this so easy without really measuring, okay? So that's why they can do a really nice picture without doing any sketching. They just go direct. So from my opinion, I think everybody should try to do as much sketch as possible to help you to prevent any error. Okay. So if you marked it, then I also going to tell you one thing is if you take that circle at the edge here, if you draw a straight line downwards, okay, you're going to realize there's a little bit of wing here, and then there's a little bit of this chest area. It's outside of this line here. So that also help you tremendously by doing that. Okay. The next thing is, this is a lot of people don't do, but again, I wanted to demonstrate to you, okay? I deliberately choose this eagle because this is a little bit more trickier to do. And the reason is because you look at that beak. That beak is looking towards the back, but not totally turn over. Okay, so you have a bit of angle. So this applies to human being too. So what happens is I estimate where the eye location is. So I go like this to the eye. Okay, so that's the eye, where it's gonna be. Then you're gonna find the center line. So the center line is actually like this. Okay. So you may ask the question, how do I know my center is correct? Well, this is, first of all, this is estimation. So my question to you is, see, this is the middle of the beak. Then you have a bit of eye here. Then this side here, you have most of the beak and then the whole eye. Okay, so while you're doing this, you will see the circle will shrink a little bit. Okay, but the angle has to be correct. So our first thing is try to get that beak. Once you get that beak, then we determine how far the rest of them should go. Okay, so first thing, that center line is based on here, the beak. If you look at the line I draw, it cross over to that beak, but the beak itself, it hooked downwards. Okay, okay, so I'm gonna blow up my picture. Okay, so this beak here is pointed downwards like this. Okay, then it hooked the back. I don't know how far this circle gonna go, but I know it sort of look like this. Okay, so again, this is estimation, remember. Okay, so you bring it up to that center line, then you will find on the left hand side you should have a little bit of beak. Then on the right side you should have quite a bit of the beak. Then you will see a nostril right beside it. Then this beak here continue going down. Okay, again, that height I don't know yet. It could be lower. Okay, so we're gonna go a bit lighter in case I need to change them. Okay, then the left line, the top have a little bit, but yet when it go towards the middle, it disappear. Okay, so you got a tiny little bit here, then it follow this line here. Okay, now let me see if my angle is correct for the nostril. Okay, I'm sort of correct, not 100% still, but that's okay again. Then you look at the top of the beak, there's something look like a 3 line to 2 line here. Okay, we don't care what they are at this stage, but look like there's something there. Okay, so the other estimation I'm gonna have is I look at this hole here, the eye socket. Okay, from where I'm just gonna call lips. Okay, this lips into the head. Then you're gonna draw a oval shape going up. Okay, then this oval shape get up to here. Then you see I'm just also gonna deliberately call this the eyebrow. Okay, but it's not. It's not really eyebrow because they don't have eyebrow. Okay, so go up to here. Then the eye actually started just a little bit inside of that. And we're gonna exaggerate a little bit that eye, make it a little bit more bigger. Okay, and then we can fix that problem later, okay, if there's any problem. So we're gonna get it like this. Okay, so before I do anything to do the correction, come back to this end here, then you will see part of the head, it go up, okay, and then this tiny little bit of hump here, and then go up to the top of the head. Okay, so since again, not to worry about how high, you might be wrong, but you won't be that much off. Then you see the eye on the left hand side, you see a little bit protruded outwards, but it's quite interesting because it's very narrow. Okay, like this. Okay, then the bottom I'm just gonna call cheek. So the cheek is actually touching the eye a little bit. How far did it go? It go, guess what? See that lips here I call? Draw a line over to the other side. Then you're suddenly gonna realize there's a yellow color right up here. That's also lips too. So in here, then I'm gonna pull that lips in. Okay, and then after on the bottom of that lips, then you got that continuation of the face. Okay. Enable for you to make this look even more better. The beak here has a bit of that gray color. I'm gonna actually map that out. Okay, and I'm gonna shade it. So don't forget that little bit of on the left hand side. Okay, so this is the time that's I also gonna compare a little bit whether or not that's my beak look pretty. Okay, okay. So now let's go to the top of the head, and you're gonna follow that, and then you're gonna come down slowly. Okay, now you notice this eyebrow, that's what I called it here, has a pointy look right here. The ending is here. Okay, so you drop that, and now you know your circle is smaller than your circle. However, here it puffed it up a little bit and then go in again. Okay, so at least now this head here, you got up to this point here. Okay, enable for you to look this bird much more better from the eye. From the eye, we have to shade a little bit. Okay, or else the eye look funny. Okay, so the left hand side eye, I'm gonna darken this part, leaving a puny little circle. That circle should be very, very tiny. Okay, then this side here, they don't have a light hitting it, but you still have to leave a little bit. Okay, so if you look a little bit careful, I'm gonna just shade it this way first, like that, and then I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna cross hatching here a little bit. Okay, so I'm gonna get it like this. Then you notice that the bottom of that eye look like there's some kind of rim. Okay, but some bird has it, but hawk I'm not too sure. But my picture here, it does show a little bit. Okay, so I got something like look like this. Okay, top of the forehead, there's a bit of pattern. So you look at that pattern and you have to make like a general statement. And that general statement say, these patches of color, they go to the back of the head and there's a whole bunch of dots. Because this also help you to make it look like what we're seeing right now. Okay, so that would help you when we get into actual Chinese painting, when we're doing the detail. Okay, so we got it sort of like this now. Okay, so now we're going to continue. Okay, we don't want to overdo it, so we continue a little bit. Let's take a look at this part here. Okay, so how long is that? So the first stage is this line, it's lining up with the beak, then followed by another line. So that's the line where you may do a little bit different than I do, but you know it's taper, okay, to this way here. And again, long as you don't come down straight line, long as it's angled, okay, it doesn't matter. Okay, so then again, I'll move it to the right hand side. Then now I'm gonna go like this, and then I see this a little bit of feather sticking out a little bit, and then go in again, and then now it has a come out a little bit again, and then go in. Okay, again, I have no idea how far did it go, other than I already marked 2.5. That's where the chest, roughly where they are. But I do know there's a wing here. Okay, so now again, by looking at this, roughly I probably can guess where that wing gonna be. Okay, but before I do anything, okay, so now there goes, if you like, you can do one more measurement just to be absolutely sure where that chest gonna end up to be the angle. Okay, so if I go back and I take my pen go back to the head again, and I go like this. Okay, and then I know the circle is this the same length. So I bring it down top of the head and I go 1, 2. Oh, this time I got 2. So again, I'll go back to my paper like that, and I take that circle, 1, 2. Oh, it is correct. Okay, so if it happened to you, that means that, yep, good. You have a good estimation the first time. Okay, so I'm gonna just quickly just go like this to that part. So I know the chest will start somewhere here. Okay, because I measured it. Okay, and then we know this whole thing is gonna go in like this in the end. Okay, so in able to make this thing look more interesting, it's again, I'm gonna take another guess game. That guess is saying, if this is followed here, then your leg would be where? You see, that's where the problem is. Okay, so another trick is you take your pen where the leg is and you draw them upwards. Okay, and guess what you will find? Okay, like from me, when I'm looking at my photo reference, that leg is somewhere here. Okay, from the left eye going down as a straight line. Okay, that's assuming I don't trust my measurement. Go back again, you repeat that again, and then you squint your eye and then bring that line straight down. Then you will find that, yep, it is correct. Okay, so what happened is now this line here supposed to go in roughly here. That's where the feet gonna end up is. Okay, so you go from here into here. And another surprise to you is the wing actually roughly also on touching that line. So I'm going to take another good guess. Okay, so the back here look like there's a small hump right here. Okay, so again, I'm going to pull that and give me myself a small hump like that. Then I realizing the wing, the angle is right here. Okay, I'll do a little bit darker so you can see it. Okay, and then that line that's here. If you want to check, you can go like this. See the brown color? You go like this. So you know there's a shape right here. Then you take that line and then bring it over to this side. A straight line over. Okay? So that means that side of the wing either right on that spot or can be just slightly lower. Okay? So I'm gonna guess, I'm gonna go slightly lower and there's a round shape. And again, I'll probably tell you most likely it's okay even you're off by a little bit. Okay, okay, so this just to show you how important you know how to sketch these. Okay, the next trick, I want you to take your pencil on top the back of this hawk. Okay, and I want you to do this very quick. Okay, you go and do a few times and you will see this is like a smooth oval shape right here. So this is where roughly that brown color of the feather gonna be. Okay, the brown color, the one look like a burnt sienna color, gonna end up probably somewhere around here. And then what would happen is the rest of them a little bit darker, and guess what? They will come down to here. Okay, and then the back here, I'm gonna make only one triangle so it's easier. So same thing, this is gonna be estimation. And remember before, my line here, so I really can tell, I'm a bit short. Okay, So here I gotta do adaptation now. Okay, so again, estimation is here, and if I bring that line down, then this tail should come a little bit more closer to the back here and able to make sense. Okay, but that means that's what? That means that I gotta bring this out more and then bring this brown out a little bit more. Okay, I don't have to exactly touch that line, remember. Okay, everything is estimation, just let you realize that. Okay, then underneath that tail you will see there's a small tail, bottom of the tail. So you bring the yin straight down, bring the yin, then you realize, you look at now overall, do you feel comfortable? That's the first question you ask yourself. Okay, if you feel comfortable, I can leave as it is. Okay, I don't have to say, oh, I have to be perfect exactly like that hawk. And the reason, again, we can get away with a lot of these here when you do bird, it's because the angle of the tail can move a little bit. Okay, so that's why. Okay, so we can go back now to the bottom of the leg here. So the first leg, this is the back leg here. So what happens is you get a little bit of this jacket for the feather. Okay, then the actual leg coming down. Now, this picture here again, you will see this here, you don't see the toe at all. Okay, then again, the second leg, it go up into the body, and then now we gotta go this way. Okay, so this bird here, this part quite interesting because there's another feathers on the back of the leg. It's quite funny. It look almost 90-degree. Okay, this part almost 90-degree. Okay, so this leg here is not 90-degree. It's not straight. Okay, so then now you can go ahead to the digit. Again, I wouldn't worry about exactly if it look like what you see there. You're just gonna do what you see. Okay, so this is what I got. Okay, so now as soon as I did this, I also spotted on the back here, there's a little bit of feather behind here. Okay, all right, so the feather on here, it's actually, you don't even have to draw them out, the pattern, okay? Because these spot is quite random. So long as you can have some spot, so I'm just gonna make them up. But the thing is, like, I think that you do this during the actual painting, it's easier. Okay, so I'm gonna just sort of make that up a little bit so you realizing we're not missing any of these, but it's just that you do have to demonstrate there is a brown spot all over the place. Okay, so I'm just gonna randomly go like this way. Your worst enemy is the back of here. Okay, and why this one here you cannot really see very clear, but you do know here there's a one shape right here. Okay, so that shape in general, most of the bird will be like this. First of all, round, and then narrow like that, and then it get a little bit bigger as it get to the bottom here. So you're gonna take that assumption. Okay, so again, See, look at this. It's a little bit different, right? From the top. Okay, so in general, that part of the feather should be arranged like this. Okay, so this is basically in your head. You got to think this way. Okay, so when we do it, you will see how I'm going to manipulate this. So the wing on here, same thing again. It started with more tinier, but you don't want to overdo it to the point that it becomes so tiny. It's become difficult for you to do this. Okay, so again, I'm making them up, remember, okay? And then as it go to the back, it get a little bit bigger. Okay, so same thing again. I'm moving along to the back, so it's getting bigger. But look at this, they don't arrange in a like a particular pattern. They're actually quite random. Okay, so like this. Now, end up on the back, the bottom part of that feather, there is a pattern. Okay, so that pattern is, I'm gonna just go like this, like this. And then the second row, they're exactly the same again. Okay. Okay. And we won't differentiate all those black spots on it because in actual painting, then we would do it. Okay, so here we go again. This is the part now that's you can see the feather again. They're overlapping each other. Okay, this is the part you can also exaggerate a little bit. And the truth is how many it does, it's not important too. Okay, I suddenly see something a little bit different. So down here, we suddenly shorten a little bit. Then here got another one, and then that become very skinny. Okay. All right. So instead of working on the bottom here, if you go back to this back here, you will see that feather in there. It's sort of jagged, and it worked like this. Because it's the bottom of the feather. That's why it looked like that. Okay. And then here, we're just going to randomly, we're just going to say this is a shading, something dark. We're not going to try to interpret what they should look like. Okay. Now take a study of the pattern. It's more important than what the feather should look like. And you'll notice in here, these patterns tend to be half circle like that. And again, you don't have to follow. Okay, you don't have to follow the bird exactly where the spot is. You just do the way you feel like, but they should be half circle like this. Surprisingly, doesn't matter how you do it, it will work. Okay. But very important knowing they go half circle. And look like behind the feet, it's tighter, means more of these pattern. Okay. And then when you get to the white part, it's not a lot. Then after all those patterns, then you see the spot. And again, it's not important how many spots you have. Even you're different from the picture, you are fine. Okay, so now I'm just defining my feather here, make it clear. Okay, so this particular bird here, I'm not going to do too much about the feet itself here. Okay, because the way the color is. Okay, so basically we're almost there. Okay, so if you go back to the head and you look at all those brown spot, it's not really a spot, it's line. Okay, so again we go back to the face. Okay, so very close to the face, they basically just a whole bunch of line going towards the back. Okay, so again, I don't want to confuse, so we won't do as much as the picture itself, but once we actually doing it, we will give more. Okay, so this is just give you some idea. Okay, so the other side, it's this way. Okay, and a little bit assumption saying, as I get to the bottom, these lines get a little bit longer. The center doesn't have a lot of these lines. Okay, so same thing again, this probably would help you a little bit more. Okay. Okay, so if you're able to, anyway, if you finish sketching, just raise your hand, then I know you're done, okay? Then even your clothes, you don't have to get it perfect, okay? Then I can move on to show you on the shin paper side, what do we need to practice, okay, to make sure we are okay. Okay, so if I don't see your thing, it's okay too, because as long as I, see your hand, it's up, then I know that's, I can move on. Okay. Okay, so I only gonna say I hope that help you, okay, in sketching wise. And if the reality is, I think that the more we do this, the easier it's gonna get. Okay, and we will be using single shin. Okay, so the first shin, we're gonna just play a little bit of game, okay, or playing how to do feather. Okay, we're not gonna do this bird, the whole bird. Okay, this because that help you to do a better job. Okay. Okay, so a lot of time, if I already did the sketch, I might just, put this sketch right beside me. Okay, so the exercise, the first thing we're gonna do is I'm gonna show you how to do feather. Okay, and again, it's probably easier if you just use a small white cloud to do it. Okay, and in here, the first thing is you look at the feather, it looked like a burnt sienna. Okay, so the first thing, get the burnt sienna color going. Okay, so in Chinese painting, it's very important, even though it looked like it's all burnt sienna color, we would still, okay, pick up a little bit of ink at the tip. You don't want to use a dark ink, so what happens is it would be just a pinch of medium dark ink at the tip. So what you should be seeing is when you do that line, so again, don't make it pointy, just open a little bit. So when you drag, it should be a little bit dark here and then get burnt sienna at the back. Okay, so each time you gotta go in, pick up a little bit of medium dark. So what happens if next feather is right here, then you see that differentiation much better. So if the top one here is gonna be there, I can overlap slightly and it'll be like this. A lot of students actually forget to go pick up the ink, then end up they got pool of burnt sienna. So if I go here and I go close enough, you can see, I can literally see 1, 2, 3, 4 feather. Okay. So this feather here look a bit oval shape. Okay. I'm gonna do a little bit more because I'm gonna add some other color in there in a minute. So again, overlapping. Okay, I'll do one more. Okay, we have another direction we have to do because again, some of the feather, you can't always do this way. Okay, so again, I'm gonna reload my burnt sienna. Again, I open slightly and then I'll pick up the medium dark ink. Okay, this one here, you gotta go a bit sideways. Okay, so the end result is this. Okay, if I go here, okay, so you can see the shape a little bit different. Okay, now you don't always get it that big. So what happens is sometimes you have to do it much more quicker. So you don't have to go pick up the ink each time because they are tiny. So you won't finish the ink. So what happens is you're gonna go and then now I have to pick up ink like this. Okay, so this is applied to the white part of the feather. So again, burnt sienna and a little bit of ink at the tip. Okay, so this is the part that you got a whole bunch of line that's on the face and on the body, the chest area. So they tend to be like this. So you can see, first one I have an ink on the top. Second one has very little, and then by the time I do the third one, it's gone, no more ink. Okay, so I have to pick up the ink again and then just go. So you try to get this look. Okay, I'm going to show you this part here too. Now the feather itself, you probably not going to see, exactly what I did, but it's a good idea to know that they exist like this. I'm going to pick up a bit of burnt umber. Then I'll pick up the ink at the tip. So what happened is I open slightly here rather than pointy. So the feather you created, it will look like this. Then you must go pick up some more ink. Then the next layer is behind, like underneath this feather. So what happened, you do a hook here. You pick up ink again, and again, you do a hook. Okay, I'm gonna do a little bit more, then I'll show you what would happen in a minute. Okay, so again, I'll do another hook, go back. So by this time here, some of the dark ink, it's not as clear cut. Then what you do is you take a white brush or the same um, white cloud, but white brush will be easier. Then you take a white brush, go back to these thin line here, and then you actually gonna use this method when it's still wet to define the feather so that you can see there's a dark line on here. Okay, I'm gonna go back to the first feather that we have done, and you see that feather has a black spot, and the feather here is still wet. Then you pick up only ink, and again you open slightly. Then what happens is you go in now, and you can now insert the dark shape that this hawk have. Then you insert it in. Okay, like this. So some of them will be narrower. So if they're narrow, you basically just make it more narrow, that's all. And you are also, it's okay, you can go back. If you think that your differentiation is not enough, you take your white brush and then you can go in and then you can use ink. And you can give a little bit of outline, but don't outline the entire feather. So you can do that too. Okay. We're going to go into a different pattern now. This is just above the leg, that 90-degree, that almost like a rectangular shape I'm talking about. Okay, so this technique is applied to owl, because owl you're going to see very often. So what happens is you open up your white cloud and you use ink only, and you go like this. Okay, and if you like, you can go back, pick up more ink. Okay, so that part will end up this way. So we wait until this is pattern is dry, then we put the burnt sienna on top of this. Okay, so this process here, of course, even I put the brown, I can still go back and put more pattern if you think your pattern is not good enough. Okay, so I'm gonna wait for a minute, and then I'm gonna go into the leg. Now I go into the face in a minute. So the leg, what happened is, in this particular method here, we actually have two way of doing it. Okay, so the first method I'm doing is a bit easier. Okay, so if the feet is here, So you outline the feet. Okay, so you got a feet here. Now, if you look very carefully, you will see this leg on the top here, there is some pattern. Okay, so this little pattern, I'll put it in right now. And you're also going to see the leg. It has a little bit of line, but our picture here is not clear. Okay. Now, in general, the top here, there should be some pattern too. So I just gave a little bit. Okay. So again, now I should be drying quite fast. So I'm going to come back to this one here. I'm going to put the burnt sienna on top. So here, this burnt sienna, basically you just go like this. And that should give you, okay. So again, myself, I don't like to use only one color. So I take a bit of burnt umber. And then maybe here, I like a little bit darker. Then it will give you a little bit more darker look. Okay, so this feet here is burnt sienna. So you coated the first layer with burnt sienna. But as I approaching to the front, I actually dilute my burnt sienna a little bit more. But you have to be quite careful because it may bleed more. Okay, right. And then you know there's a little bit of Cayenne orange. And they do not cover the entire digit. Okay, so only partial coverage. Then what happened is the color looked kind of dark, so I'm just going to use a burnt umber. Okay, and then the digit, I would take my burnt umber, mix into my ink a little bit. So the nail will be that color. Okay, so again, this Cayenne orange color part, I don't like to be flat. Okay, so you will watch me sometimes, depends on the bird. This one here, I might take a bit of vermilion and randomly, just some spot, I deliberately put a little bit of vermilion. Okay, so it will give you a little bit more depth to it. Okay, so this part here, I better demonstrate it too. Okay, so the back of the feather, it's a kind of gray color. Okay, we could have done it with a straight ink if we like, but in able to make this thing look much more interesting. So what happened is you can take a little bit of indigo and then add just a little bit of magenta in there, very little. Okay, so you're gonna get a sort of look like a gray, but they have a bit of purplish color. Okay, so that feather, if I take my white cloud and open slightly, it will have this type of color. Okay, So same, if you dip a little bit ink in there, you will get it like this. On the tip has a bit of color. And if they overlapping each other, okay, and then you go back to do the ink pattern. So the ink pattern, I will open up again like this. Okay, so this just to show you that's how we do this. Okay, so you create it look like that. Okay, so we're gonna go into the face. So just like our sketch, we would get that beak first, okay, before you go to outline, because in Chinese painting, when we do it, you cannot do a circle. So we're gonna get used to it using that beak to help us. So in the early stage, if you're still afraid you might make mistake, what you can do is take a light ink. Maybe I'll do it on the bottom here, okay? So in able to do it, because from the sketch, you already can tell how to do that beak. So that beak, I'm gonna go here, okay? And then I'm gonna draw the center line. I don't know, can you see it? I draw the center line here, okay? And the reason I can do that is because you're not gonna be able to see that center line in a minute when you color, okay? So I'll bring it in here. Okay, so now I actually have that shape already. Then what I can do is I go back a little bit more darker now. So now I have that shape, but I do not go back to do that center line anymore. Okay, so what happened is there is a hump right here. So I'm gonna increase that hump a little bit and I just add it. Okay, like that. And again, you see that yellow color. So I'm gonna go on top based on this line here. Okay, so the line here, okay, so not to worry about the beak, okay, so if you have a problem with the beak, we can still go fix it, okay, so that's why we started from this point of view because it's easier. Okay, so there is a nostril on the yellow part. That yellow, the nostril is would be able to help me also, but I only gonna put a smaller hole than what I really should do. Then you know the eye has this eyebrow, okay? So that I call eyebrow, but it's not really the eyebrow, but I know it's up here. And then that line is look quite straight and then angled downwards, okay? But before you do anything, you gotta go to the other side to make sure they're equal, okay? So what happened is again, I'll do a little bit here. Then the eye actually have that circle, half circle going out there. Okay. Okay. Before you go any more further, the left hand side, that eye, we're gonna give a little bit of forehead. Okay, so we are more or less okay with the head. If you look at it, now we're gonna go into the eye socket. Okay, so what happened is, again, on the other side, you can see the lens of that hawk. I'm gonna take that lens and I'm gonna imagine my line come over to this side here so I don't get a crooked. Okay, we're almost there. Okay. So, okay, so now the back of this head here, now I got this part here, so I'm gonna make sure this eyebrow continue a little bit because it's important, because that's how we make ego look mean. Okay, so again, now I can come over to this side here. Now I even I exaggerate a little bit this hump here, it was still fine. Okay, so we more or less okay with this face. Okay, so we're gonna go in and we're gonna make that the lens. So I'm gonna start it with a like a medium dark ink. Okay, so this eye, left eye, it's the bottom part that has a little bit dark. So I started from there, and you can see, although I'm using a white brush, I'm very carefully fill it in. Okay, then I'm gonna close in, and I'll leave the white more than what I need. Then I go to my right side, and again, visually, you see the front part is more darker than the back. So again, I'll start from the front, work my way towards the back. Now, when I'm doing this, my brush is sort of dry. Okay, so again, I leave more white than I need. Okay, so we go into a little bit detail again. Okay, so underneath the eye, there's a little bit of this, almost like a rim. So I dot the line, and I'm gonna exaggerate, and I'm gonna make it the other side also has that too. Okay, so the beak, this particular one here, the middle here, this line is actually dark. Okay, so now what happened is they have pattern. That pattern is a burnt umber color, so we won't use ink. We're just gonna go straight into burnt umber. And if your burnt umber is not dark enough, you can always take a little bit ultramarine, mix into it, then it will get a little bit darker. Okay, so again, now you can follow a little bit more careful this particular part here, and also help you if you have a bit of like a mistake, not exactly the same, you can also fix it at this point. Okay, so I gave a little bit of right on top of that yellow color. Then what happened is you notice these lines are going towards the back. But again, you don't need to follow exactly the same, long as you let people feel they are going towards the back. Okay, and then don't overwork. Go to the bottom right away, underneath the eye. Okay, so at this point here, same thing again, not to worry about, you are like a little bit off. Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna switch my brush. The beak is a little bit kind of grayish color. Again, that's I'm not gonna use like a diluted ink. I'm gonna use the color that I used before. I'm gonna use a bit of indigo and have a little bit of magenta. So it's kind of like a purplish color, but except when you dilute them, it will look grayish. Okay, so the B in the front, I will use that particular color and I'll fill it in. Okay, so this color here now, it looks flat. Okay, and I don't immediately go back to give a variation of the color. And then you see the beak has that yellow part. So same thing, that yellow part, I started with a carmine yellow. And if that carmine yellow touched the gray part, it's okay. Okay, so I have a little bit coating of that carmine yellow. Immediately, okay, you take a little bit more concentrated carmine orange, then go randomly. Okay, so I say randomly because again, it's difficult for me to tell you exact location. So you still keep a little bit of your carmine yellow. Okay, but some part already switch over to almost a carmine orange color. Okay, so by this time here, your beak should be a little bit more drier now. Okay, then I'll go back to the ink. Some part of the beak a little bit darker, so I'm going to use the ink to help me. Okay, so same thing, very random. Okay, the location, and once it's dry, you will know the actual color, but right now you wouldn't be able to, so I dropped a little bit of that ink. Okay, all right, for the eye, I would take the burnt umber. So area that has that ink in there, now I'm going to coat it with this burnt umber, and I'll reduce the white area a little bit more now. Okay, so it's like this. Then I'm going to take that burnt umber, the eyebrow area, I would draw a little bit more longer. Okay, so the same thing again, I'll use indigo with a little bit of magenta and keep it on the blue side. And I'm using that color to shade the eye, around the eye. Okay, we will put white, okay, but that white will come a little bit later. So around this eye here, there's a shading. So that shading will be done with this color here. Okay, so this is what you get for the head. Okay, so only at this point here, when it's a little bit drier, then you can take your white. Okay, I'm gonna look for my white. Okay, so I'm hoping by doing it this way here, it helps you a lot more. Okay, because when we actually doing it, sometimes you don't understand how I did it. So I'm just gonna show you the dilution of the white. Okay, it should be roughly like this. Okay, a little bit more thicker than hormone. Okay, that dilution. Okay, a little bit more thicker. This is different than when we do it on the size paper. If you go too thick, what would happen is it becomes stiff, the white. So you want to go in there a little bit gentle. Okay, so now that's what happened is you open up your brush and you coat entire head, but do not go over the eye. You go over to the gray part, beak you do not touch. Okay, so now you have a coating of almost like hormone, that milk, okay, that consistency. Then now you can go back. Now you use a little bit concentrated. Okay. So the big mistake is a lot of people going too fast, too concentrated, and that's why it's make the bird look stiff. So now I can go back and I don't coat everywhere. Okay. I only go into random area. So that random area, for example, this forehead here, I like my brown color a little bit recede, so I go a little bit thicker on the top part. Okay, so now the brown color actually now look like on the bottom of the white. Okay, so here again, the cheek, the underneath the eye, I'm not gonna put that much white, but here I will do this part. And again, underneath the beak, I'm not gonna put too much white, but around the beak, I put more white. So by this time here, now the way we do it, now you visually compare to your shrimp paper, you can see there's a coating of that white. Okay, so while that white is getting dry, I have to take again a little bit of the burnt umber and go back to some of the pattern that I created before. Now, why do we do it that way? Because some of these patterns are on the surface of the feather, some of them are underneath of the feather. So that's why initially when we did those are underneath. So now I'm gonna put on top of the feather now, so that will be on top of the white, and I'm not repeating what I have done before. So these are new pattern. Okay, so underneath the beak, I have to either you have a CPI, you can use CPI, or you can add a little bit ultramarine to it, or you can use ink added to burn umber to get it more darker. So either way they work. Okay, so underneath the beak, a little bit darker. Okay, I also gonna fix the nostril. Okay, so then now what happened is this some area you feel that you want to do a little bit outline. Okay, so for example, this yellow part, I like a little bit more darker here. So then I'll go in and I'll do a little bit of touch up. Okay, and also for the iris, now I go to the outside, not the whole thing, the outside edge. I give a little bit dark ink. And for eagle, the top of the iris, you should emphasize a little bit with dark ink. Preferable actually concentrated ink. So I'm drawing a straight line so the eagle will look more mean. Okay. Okay, so same thing at this stage here, if you got a question, you should ask. Okay. We will do some pine tree to go with this eagle. Okay, so all this process here will be helping you next week to complete a little bit faster because once you understand how to do this, it's not scary. Okay. Okay, so when I'm looking at this eagle, maybe I still able to shade a little bit near the eyebrow area. Once you also have the white, you don't have to scare the color go outside of that white. The white is act like a glue. Okay, so this part here, I like a little bit shading, so I just went in touched a little bit, and then look like here might have a bit of shading underneath here too. Okay, and then again, that's this part here seems to got a lot of burnt sienna, so I'm gonna also shade a little bit with burnt sienna. Okay, it has a lot of line, but it also gave me a little bit of burnt sienna here. Now, sometimes Chinese artists, we also deliberately put a bit of white underneath the eye. Okay, this part here, we deliberately do it so that the eye looks sharper, like this. And then, although you already left a bit of white, sometimes we leave a bit of that white, but we also add a little bit of white, pure white. So you're not only seeing there's a white, but also see a little bit of variation. Now, if you are a little bit more Western art side, okay, you may decide to say, I want to do a like a reflected shadow, like reflected light. So that reflected light will be right here if you want, but cannot be pure white. Okay, it has to be a little bit lighter than, so it's a bit of diluted white. Okay, so this is a big comparison, okay, to last week, what we're doing, okay? So we have just a little bit time. So I like to go back to last week, okay, the ego, because I told you that I wanted to do actually a little bit demonstration to show you when you pick up ink, okay, how you pick up those ink. Okay, so for example, I have lighter ink here. Okay, you always want to pick up ink at the tip here a little bit more darker. Okay, but you only pick up maybe 1/3 or 1/4 way. So what would happen is when, okay, let me see if I got space here. So when you press down, you wanted to see the variation of the color. Okay, so let me see if I can get, okay, my last week's stuff. Okay, so just show you this particular eagle. I'm looking at it here. This is the head. Okay, so as soon as I touch, you will see variation of the color. See, look, when you go like this, you go dark to light, right? And if you go here again, a stroke, if you pull it down, and even you move around, you still see that variation. It's very, very important. When we do Chinese painting, you could see this. But that's an example. I find, oh, this is not as dark as I want, but the bottom here, I want it darker. You still reload. Now you go more than halfway, which is a dark ink. Okay. Then you come back to this bottom here. Now I can again move around, but when I move around, again, you still see this dark to light. Okay, very, very important. Okay, you get that. Okay, so even this particular one here, although I didn't do the face, but I can go in. Okay, so I'm going to insert it, and again, this particular one here, and that's the eyebrow, which I did on this one here. Okay, so this particular metal here, the iris, it's a bit kind of rectangular or square shape. Okay, and then the bottom here, it's up to me to get that mean look. Then this particular one here, it's got a funny beak like that. Okay, so it's that variation. But now I'm going to show you on the bottom here again, okay, like how you connected this too. So now instead of go to the lighter ink, you should be medium dark to dark. Then this is the part that small brush probably not going to do very, very well. So I'm going to switch over to, instead of say ochre and bamboo, I'm going to switch over to this large one. Okay, so I'm not too sure if I got enough of this very dark ink. Okay, so this time here, my whole brush first was medium dark. Then I'm going to pick up at least half of the dark ink. Okay, so half of the brush. Then this is the shoulder area. So look at this. If I do this, okay, look at this. I stopped it there. And then so you got this dry and wet. Okay. Now, let's say, for example, I want to be different than the person I mentioned to you guys, Li Chan. Okay. So I like a little bit more detail. So it's not a big problem. You load up your brush again, medium dark to dark. So in here, I want to create feather like what we see here. So what happened, I use the same technique that I learned from the previous time here. Okay. So now I go, okay, and then I got some dry here, which is a good thing. So maybe I'll do a shorter one. So I have a bit of white here. Okay. Then again, I'll go over to this side here. And then let's say, for example, I want a variation. So instead of doing this type of stroke, I'm going to use the side of the brush And then now 中锋, that means this side will get a little bit more. Okay, so now I look like I'm writing. Okay. Okay, so obviously this bird now compared to what we have done in the last week is a little bit more feather. Okay, the other one it looked more patch. So I just show you the difference is I'll pull this one. This is the last week. Okay, so last week, right? When you look at this, it just bunch of dark ink. Okay, so it's symbolic, but this is more detailed, look like actual feather. Now, very important is again, you vary the ink. So in here, if I decide I'm gonna have some more dark one here, again, I can go like this. Okay, so this is, okay, my ink is not dark enough. I wish it was way darker. Okay, so again, just maybe I'll just use a pencil. I shouldn't do that, but again, so in here, you see this, because the head is this way here, I have a choice. My tail could be here, like this, which is normal. But the reality is this one here, my tail can be here. Okay, just angled it a little bit here to look nicer. Okay, so I'm gonna do that one just to show you. So what happened is instead of go this way here now, I'm gonna go sideways. Okay, I'll pull up a little bit so you can see the bottom. Okay, like that. Okay, and enable for here, I don't have a like mix up with my dark. I could also do this. I open it up a lot. Okay, tremendous amount like this. Okay, then in here I can go. Okay, so I hope this kind of let you realize why do I ask you to learn this method here too. Okay, because then once you learn the detail, come back to this, you can change the way it is. You don't have to follow Li Kuchan method. Okay, which you will find maybe yourself feel more comfortable, and even for the beak here too. Okay, I'll just do a little bit quick demonstration the beak. Okay, you don't have to follow this way. Okay, so again, I went to the head. Okay, then let's say for example, if I decided here, okay, can you see it? It's a little bit different now. Okay, even the bottom, I can add one more stroke. In some way, it look a little bit like a parrot head too. Okay, so this one here, I'm just gonna put a little bit Cambion orange just to show you guys. Okay. Okay, so and that will be a little bit different, right? So again, It's up to you to decide what is more suitable for you. Okay. All right. So next week, okay, we will actually do the actual painting of this particular bird. Okay, so hopefully we can do it in one class, will be ended. Okay, then after this particular eagle, we will go into rabbit, and then the rabbit we will do sketching first too, to make sure you can do it. Okay, in the past I find out that I go straight in and end up the rabbit is kind of look like rabbit but not rabbit. So that's why. Okay, because sometimes when you don't know the sketch, it look like a rat or a dog head. That's why. Okay, so all right. So hopefully when we get to the rabbit, it's hopefully it's exciting, okay? Because I know that I started seeing a lot of people doing the rabbit because of the year of the rabbit. Okay, so this time we're able to get it early enough. All right. Okay, so we're gonna end the class. So bye bye to everybody, and hopefully next week we can complete this eagle. Okay. Okay. Bye bye.